Thanks for attending today's webinar, and this is presented by Converse Social. We have some really interesting conversation today. We're going to talk about really starting off with the social journey. So social is driving a tremendous amount of change within companies, conversations that begin with customers and are really affecting change throughout organizations inside of everything from marketing to IT. We'll talk to Joshua March, the CEO of Converse Social, about the complete customer experience, and then we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of things with Joanna Coverley and with Paul Bentley. So I'll just kick off a little bit about what myself. I work for Ogilvy & Mather, the ad agency, and I lead our social customer care practice. And really what we do is we help brands sound like human beings, and this can be a challenge because a lot of customer care organizations are buried behind years and years of not listening and putting your head into the sand, if you will. So an example, I always like to use a current example, and this one was really easy to find. Some of you may be familiar with Frank Eliason from Comcast Cares, sort of the godfather of a lot of this. Then we have the United Breaks Guitars guy his guitar was lost on a flight, and I think now he basically flies around going to customer service conventions talking about that negative experience. One that happened really recently is with the cast of The Office, the U.S. version. They were trying to fly on a U.S. Airways flight from L.A. to Scranton. U.S. Airways pulled out of the gate 10 minutes early, and it left Rainn Wilson, who's Dwight Schrute, there in his Dwight Schrute outfit. It left him high and dry, and he went off on Twitter. And he actively said, I'm going to turn my 3.5 million followers against U.S. Airways. So this is almost a pop cultural phenomenon. It's gone from being something that you might pick up on BuzzFeed and say, oh, this is a really crazy customer service story, and now it's just something that people do, celebrities do. So you can imagine if a celebrity has this impact, obviously this phenomenon is really, it's been embraced far and wide. And not only is it, affecting celebrities, it's affecting the stock market. So a few weeks ago, we had a fake tweet. Someone hacked the AP's Twitter account, and they tweeted that there was an explosion at the White House. Now, this was not true. It's not true then, not true now. Everything is fine. But it actually moved the stock market down now it corrected in a few minutes, but it just shows you the power of either information on Twitter, so what's being said about your company, your brand, your products, or disinformation. Someone can just simply spread effective, false rumors about you on this massive platform that has a global reach and goes off immediately. So whether or not the fact that you like these conversations are occurring, they have an impact on your business. And to that end, we have some stats that show really the exponential growth of, this is on Facebook. So New York University looked at Facebook posts on brands' walls, some of the top brands in the U.S., Kroger, which is a supermarket chain, Walmart, Target, Walgreens, and really the increase from 2011 during the holiday season to 2012 was almost a 500% increase in Facebook posts related to servicing issues. So you can only imagine what 2013 will bring. And this is all the more reason why brands need to be involved in social customer care now and be thinking about a roadmap for the future. And so a lot of what I've talked about sort of springs to mind the classic damage control or triage, really a PR-centric view of social. I think since this webinar, one of the things we want to talk about really was thought leadership. It's where do we go from there? So this is a slide we have at Ogilvy. We have a Social at Ogilvy practice, and that's what our social customer care offering is part of. And really, we view the world now that most brands are within, let's say, stage 1 and stage 2, which would be a PR-centric team putting out fires to a social care team that is beginning to work with other departments. So coming back into inside the house, if you will, and bringing feedback into product development. Or in the case of with our guest today, it may be with engineers, people at the station, folks who are doing inspections. I have this lovely photo of Ernest Hemingway for an example. Oftentimes when we start talking about social media, we think we're talking about things that are new, have never been done before. At the core of all of this is that we have to listen. We have to listen carefully, literally, in some cases, help our clients or our colleagues take their heads out of the sand, unplug their ears, understand what's being said, and act on it. It happens that we have social care feed a new way of doing business where we track incidents, we track problems, and we, again, make changes to the business so that we're creating a customer-centric approach. And so that's my preaching to the choir, if you will. So let's go over to the choir. And now I'll turn it over to Joshua March, who will talk about the Social Barometer and the end-to-end complete customer experience. So Josh, if you want to take it away.
Cool. Thanks very much for the introduction, Evan. So I'm Josh. I'm the founder and CEO of Conversocial. We've been working with companies for a good few years now, helping them to develop, build social customer service teams and implement social customer service in their business. And I want to talk a bit about how social is helping companies to discover what we call the complete customer experience. I'm going to talk for too long, just a few minutes to kind of introduce the subject before Joe and Paul obviously come on and talk about how they're doing this in reality. So I just wanted to start with the simple question, what do your customers think? It's a simple question, but it's really not simple to answer. But it's something that's really fundamental to any business's success. Especially in today where trends and what people are thinking, the memes are changing more rapidly than they've ever done before. It's really essential to keep a solid grasp on what your customers are thinking and what they're doing. Towards this, companies are spending millions of dollars every single year on market research. They're doing everything they can with surveys, with focus groups, to really try and delve in and get a deep understanding of what their customers are thinking. But despite the millions that are being spent on this, they're only able to reach a small subset of customers. A very low response rate. You probably get a skewed sample. And more importantly, you get a very slow feedback loop, where the feedback that you're getting from your customers may be taking weeks or even months after an initiative to really feed back into the business. At the same time, large companies have got thousands of customer service agents. You're often dealing with millions of emails and phone calls every single month. But again, it's a subset of the feedback that they're getting from the customers. It's only the most serious issues that are coming through. And often that data that's being collected is being swept under the rug. Customer service is too often treated as a cost center and not as an information center. And the fact that you can sweep it under the rug is one of the reasons that so many people are. But we think that social really starts to change things, and for a number of reasons. First of all, it's an entirely new feedback loop that crosses over between both market research and customer service. But the most amazing thing is that it's completely public, and because it's completely public, it's actually allows businesses to make much more changes than it ever has before, because senior management are paying much more attention to what's being said on social, what's being said by your customers on your Facebook page or tweeted at you in public than they ever have done before with kind of traditional customer service. It's also amazing because customers are volunteering what they think about everything. It's not just the worst service issues, it's not just the questions you've carefully constructed in a market research feedback, but people are posting about everything, positive and negative, whether it's customer service issues, whether it's feedback about products or services, or their thoughts on your latest marketing campaign. It's all happening, and it's all happening in real time. One of the other amazing things about social is that it's made it more convenient than ever before for a customer to get in touch with a company. It's on their phones, it's real time. People are tweeting, as we're about to hear, when they're on a train, or they're in store, or they're at checkout. And it's made it so much easier for people to complain and give feedback that they're starting to do this for a much wider variety of feedback than they ever have before. Jack Threads, one of the fastest growing e-tailers in New York, and one of our customers, they said they get more detailed product questions on Twitter than any other customer service channel. because it's so easy that someone's looking at a product and they can just tweet quickly and ask about the details of a product. It's very, very low barrier to entry. And so for you as a company, what does this mean? Well, we see that companies do struggle with how to deal with this in the best way. It's not quite marketing, it's not quite customer service. The teams that they have that exist in a company aren't always fully placed or right placed to actually deal with this. Often the tools that people have bought for maybe PR or marketing in social don't really work for customer service, and the traditional customer service tools don't do that as well. And it's a big challenge because not only are you getting all this amazing data and information from customers, but customers now also have a very high expectation of getting a response. If someone's giving feedback, if someone's asking questions, if someone's making a complaint, they expect you to respond, and they expect you to respond quickly. And so we're seeing what we're calling the social engagement hub, which is this set of not just new tools, but also new teams and new processes designed to deal with this in the best possible way, which really has the social customer service team at its core. And this is a model that we're seeing working in all the most innovative and leading businesses that we work with, where they have a team of real customer service agents who've been trained in social media and trained in how to deal with customers publicly, sitting at the center of all the one-on-one engagement that's going on with their customers. But they're not just responding and resolving issues, they're also feeding that data in real time, not only to senior management, but also directly to different departments who can then utilize that feedback. And for businesses, you now not just have the data, what are people complaining about, what type of issues, but you also have these amazing stories. And when you actually share a public tweet or a public conversation that's happened on Facebook that's giving feedback, often senior management and departments are much more willing to take that on and willing to take a change because of its public nature, which gives a massive amount of power to the social customer service teams to actually make a real change in businesses. And so I'm going to hand over now to Joe from First Great Western, and who's actually going to share how they're doing this in real life. So thanks, Joe. Over to you. I'm back on at the end.
Thanks, Josh. I'm Jo Coverley. I'm the Digital Community Manager for Great Western, and I'm responsible for the delivery of our social media. So I'll just flip to the next slide. This is a customer service channel. We've always been really, really clear that that's what this is going to be, rather than a marketing platform. I mean, we do put out a little bit of marketing stuff, but we're really careful and selective about the kind of things that we put out. And that's just because, we don't want to annoy our customers. We're there to help them. And so primarily that's what we're going to do. We actually do run a quarterly survey to ask our followers how well we're doing on Twitter. And one of the questions is, how well do you think we're balancing up marketing and customer service? And so far, customers seem to think we're doing okay. So I think we're going to stick with doing it that way. And I think one of the reasons why we do what we do is because I've been responsible for setting up the social media and then managing it. And my background is in customer service. So I know that in other businesses, social media can sometimes fall into marketing or comms or other departments, and their end goal for social might be very different from what mine has been. So I think it's really interesting to see which companies are using social for what reasons. But for us, it's all about customer service. We certainly don't want our customers to think that we're not listening. I mean, the reason in the first place why we set up a Twitter account was because there was loads and loads of customers talking about us on Twitter when we weren't there. And actually, one of the guys that worked in our ticket office in Paddington picked up on this, and he developed he started responding to customers in an unofficial capacity. He's called Ollie, and he now works on our Twitter feed. But he came to us and said, listen, guys, there's loads going on. You're going to need to set up a Twitter account. So that's what we did. And that fell to me. And I think the reason for that is because I was the person that spent the most time on Facebook. So they figured that I would be the best person to do that. But we've always had a real interest in what customers have been saying on Twitter. I think we have genuinely gone in there with an absolute commitment to customer service. I was a bit of a Twitter novice, actually, so I was quite scared when we first set this up. But it all seems to go okay. But I mean, since the days of me looking after Twitter on my own, we've really grown now. We've got quite a big team, a team of 6 or 7 advisors who manage our Twitter account from between 7 in the morning till 10 at night. So we're there some really good hours. So it's great that we've been able to do that. And now that we've sort of established ourselves on Twitter and hopefully we're doing it the right way, now we're in the position to sit back and really drill down into exactly what customers are saying about us. And we're using Conversocial, and having a tool like that is kind of just invaluable for us to bring everything that people are saying into one place. I mean, as part of our overall strategy, we are going to be using big data to drive real business strategies, but we don't know what that's going to look like yet. We're still in the planning stages of that. So our approach to social media is going to be very much one of all the small things. I'll just explain that in a little bit more detail. I mean, we're a massively complex industry, the railway, and we've got some really big problems, some challenges such as like performance and capacity and infrastructure and things like that. And those are the main things that our customers are talking to us about. But just by setting up a Twitter account and having a social media presence, we can't resolve those things. I mean, we've got people who are focusing on those things every day. Of our business is made up of a series of mini experiences. So from the moment they book their tickets with us to when they get to the station and buy their coffee, they get on the train, they've got catering, facilities, things like that. It's all made up of these little experiences, and customers naturally, like people, just cling on to negative things. So if one of those things goes wrong, then it can tarnish the whole experience for the customer. So what we're really doing on Twitter is to try and iron those things out one by one. And on the slide here is one of my favourite examples. It's just such a simple thing, but this customer was kind of annoyed that she didn't have a hook on the back of the toilet door at Oxford, and it cost us about £5 and probably about 10 minutes to put one up. And that's just something that won't annoy anyone going forward. So let's flick on to the next slide. So yeah, I mean, I think this just kind of sums it up really. We're really to be in this position where we're just getting tons and tons of customer feedback from people now, and we're able to pass that on to people in the business. And I think, as in a lot of businesses, we've had a lot of skeptics within ours with social media, but now they're starting to see all this data come through. I think people are starting to sit up and say, hang on a minute, there's kind of some really good insight here about things that we can change, like engineering, for example. If someone finds something that's broken on a train, it takes us 5 minutes to get it from Twitter and pass it straight through to engineering, and they can arrange fixing it. So I think people are starting to become really interested, and if we sort of fix all the small things, I think we can make one great thing out of that.
Good afternoon, guys. I'm Paul Bentley. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we've done with Socialer, the way we've approached it, and give you some examples and show you through some of my slides. We've come at Twitter a slightly different way to the way First Great Western did, in that my role is primarily around delivering customer information during disruption, or particularly unplanned disruption. So the day you're stood on the platform waiting for your train and your train isn't there and you wonder what's going on. And we realised that social presented us with an opportunity to start to talk to customers and to actually solve some of those issues, particularly where we have a lot of stations that aren't staffed, or trains where the only person on the train is the driver. And so that's where we kind of started our social journey. This slide here just shows you our control room. This is our control room in the centre of London, and this is where we look after all of the train running across our network. What we've done is to put the social team just here on this desk, right in the middle of all of the action and everything that's going on. And what that means is that they have brilliant access to the live information. They have really up-to-date access to what's happening out on the train network at all times of the day, and they're able to start to have some conversations with customers and start to deliver information to them. The team has been growing steadily since we started just over 18 months ago. So originally, I think Joe from First Great Western said it was just me, like it was just her, and now we've grown. We'll shortly be a team of 4, and we'll shortly be moving from our current Monday to Friday operation to be a full 7-day operation. We've also seen the followers grow. and that brings with it its opportunities and also some threats, and some of the things I'll talk about. But overall, something that hasn't changed throughout all the time we've been doing it is that around 70% of the traffic that we get through Twitter, and it's particularly Twitter that we use, is around train running. Where is my train? Why has my train just stopped? What's happening with this train? How can I get home? How can you help me? And so being in the control room really is key for us in delivering great customer service, because it's what our customers want to know about. I've just got a couple of example tweets to show you from yesterday, actually, just to demonstrate the points, really. People want to know what's happening, and want to know what's happening at great speed. So the top two tweets here are just a couple of examples of customers getting in touch with us within 4 minutes of departure and a minute of the departure time to find out what's going on. And in the case of the top tweet here, this actually alerted our control room to the fact that something was going on. So customers are very quick to get in touch with us when there are problems. One of the great opportunities with Twitter, and one of the things we've done, which is my third example down at the bottom here, is that we can actually have a two-way dialogue between our control room and the people who are making decisions and our customers for the first time. A lot of our traditional media, particularly, say, the website, are geared around pushing information to customers, but we don't have a dialogue with them. And so the bottom tweet is just an example from yesterday when we were trying to work out whether the people from our connecting bus would actually fit on the train. And I was able to ask one of our regular customers who was on the train, how full is it? And we were able to feed that back to the control room, and then we were able to make decisions based on it. So that's a very small example of where we're able to use it, but it's something that is growing, and as we have more customers on more trains, the opportunities to help them and start that two-way dialogue really start to grow. We're very focused about the way that we feed back, and I know many businesses, as I go around various places talking to people, have trouble with this making of a business case, and what we've done is really to use what we call our web watch to deliver value back to the business. So every morning before 9 o'clock, my team will send out a daily log to the business, and that's everyone from the managing director right down to all of the different area station managers, our cleaning train presentation managers, our fares team, a huge range of people, really. A short summary of everything that's happened the day before on Twitter and in social. And what that gives us for the first time as a business is a really quick feedback loop and a really good feel for how customers feel. If I give you an example, we've had some major engineering work recently, and being able to give customer feedback 4 or 5 hours after the start of the major engineering work so that we can make changes based on it is really powerful, and it's a lot quicker than it has been through the traditional channels where we'd wait for a letter or an email to come in through our customer relations team. Since we've had Social, that's just developed and we're continuing to grow, so the number of categories where we log tweets is ever growing. So we've recently added things around our cycle policy and catering because they're two growing topics. But it's also helped us to log specific disruption events. So I'm now able to tell our control team what customers felt about how they handled a specific disruption event on a specific day. So that's been a really powerful tool. Excuse me. And it's really interesting to hear our senior team being able to talk and use examples from customers from the day before when they're making a point in meetings or to other people. And obviously this is the ultimate goal of the web watch. This is actually physically getting things fixed. I've just picked one example here for you. This is just a ticket machine at one of our rural stations up near Ipswich in East Anglia. And what we're able to do is to feed this specific point back to our ticket vending machine team via the web watch. They come back to us and tell us what's happening, and we can then go back to the customer. And it's very similar to Joanna's example of starting to get those little things taken through, to drip those through. Because the opportunity with social is that when you're telling customers you fix something, all of your customers are seeing that you're fixing something. So that positive effect is multiplied. It's still an area that we need to improve on, and so we've increased recently our tracking in terms of making sure that the business is feeding back to the social team and that we're getting things back to customers as quickly as possible. My final slide this afternoon is just a little bit again about talking to customers, and we're always looking to keep that continuous feedback loop going. So just to share some of our recent survey data, this is a couple of weeks ago now, we just asked our customers just to tell us what they thought about the service we provide. I'm really pleased to say 92% of them said that they were happy with the quality of the tweets. And for me, the really important result is that 87% of them said that they were happy with the quality of information that we provide during disruption, our real reason for being. And the way that we provide information during disruption is always growing and always changing, but it's great to see that customers really like what we're doing. The final figure there is just around the people who think improvements have been made, and that was quite a strong piece of feedback that we really need to keep working and keep pushing, because customers' expectations are changing and growing. It was once good enough that we replied to tweets. Customers were amazed that a train company would talk to them, and now there is an expectation that we will really drive change and really make positive changes for customers. So whilst we've made a great start, there's plenty more to do, and that will keep me busy for certainly a while to come.
So what I'd like to do now, we'll ask the folks participating on the web, if you have questions, please either submit them through the chat, the Fuse chat, or you can submit them using on Twitter using the hashtag @SocialBarometer. And I'm sure that even if we don't answer your question here, that if it's up on Twitter, we will get, we'll talk to you and start a conversation there even after this is over. But I think what was interesting in hearing Joe and Paul, both of your experience, is that the social care team had a different origin. So for Joe, it sounded like it was almost, and I think this is a great thing, you tapped this organic enthusiasm. Someone kind of just took it on his own and went rogue and started answering questions, which was fantastic. And so that then became a formal team. And then for Paul, it sounds as though it was part of that command center, that it's something that you've been doing already, but was just a great way to notify customers, passengers of disruption. But a question for both, we'll start with Joe first, is how much convincing did it take of your senior leadership, or did they see the value of social right away? If they didn't, how did you convince them? What maybe some specific examples of things that opened their eyes? So Joe, we'll kick over to you, and then.
Oh, I didn't get what you just said at the very beginning of that.
Oh, it was how did your senior leadership see the value of social care straight off, or did it require some convincing? And if so, how did you convince them?
It's a tricky question, really, because I mean, I think we've got quite a big exec team, and I think some of them did, and some of them didn't really get it at the beginning. I think it took a very, very big disruption that we had. We had a fatality, and this was when I was managing the Twitter account, and I was only managing it in business hours, and we had this major fatality just side of business hours, and there was no one there on Twitter, and we'd already built up quite a following then. So I think that was when everybody sat up and said, right, we really need to be there when customers need us, and I think that's when everyone started taking it seriously. So yeah, it was a big disruption that really made everyone sit up. Does that help?
Great. And Paul, do you have anything you can share?
Yeah, very similar actually. I was quite fortunate or unfortunate in that it snowed, and it's quite a big thing here in the UK when we get a couple of flakes of snow, and unfortunately everybody logged onto our website, which caused it to crash, and for pretty much the whole weekend, aside from the emergency page on the website, Twitter was the only source of real-time information for the whole of the weekend, and I think that cemented in a fair few people's minds that actually this was quite an important tool and quite a useful tool, because we were able to still engage with people and talk to them about what was going on, to post alternative sources of information, and our following doubled in 48 hours on the back of that. So that was really the time when Twitter started to go from something which I did on the side to something which became essential really and a part of the business.
It's something that we've seen across pretty much everyone we've worked with, that unless they have unless the senior exec team that really gets and understands social, generally the real commitment to it only comes when there's some kind of crisis situation that kind of shakes the company and makes them realize how powerful social is as a means of communicating with their customers. And often it takes that kind of crisis before a company is willing to really commit the resources to do it properly.
Sure, and I know that, Paul, you've seen some pretty great results, so congratulations with it. 92% of your followers are happy with the tweets. Is that a survey that you are going to conduct regularly, quarterly? How can you just share when and how you're doing that survey?
Yeah, certainly. It's something that we'd never tried, and it's something that I'm very conscious of, because over time, naturally, we've seen the way that the feed is used and the expectation of customers changed. And whilst I get a feel from that, we get great customer feedback and great feedback about what we're doing from our followers. I was conscious I wanted to do something a little bit more formal. So having seen that, it's certainly something we'll look to replicate probably in around about 6 months' time, or if we're looking to make some changes to the account, because it's great to have the feedback from people. They tell us what they want, and that almost makes my job easier in a way. We just respond to that.
Now,
does the survey roll up to senior leadership? Are their eyes on it, or is it something that's for sort of your internal use or your team?
No, the senior leadership team, I have to say, are really bought into it, and I just labour the point, but I think having that feedback and having that feedback so quickly is really valuable for them. And I know there are members of the senior team who look out for it, because it's useful for them to make examples when they're talking to other people about issues that are happening now. It puts them very much in touch with what's happening. So they're very bought into it. And to answer the direct question, yeah, they've seen the results of the survey and the feedback that we've had, and I think that can only help.
And Joe, I know you have a similar effort as well. Do you have a formal survey, or is it just simply a hashtag or a Twitter question out to your followers? How do you go about it?
We set ours up last year on SurveyMonkey, so we actually have got a proper survey, and then we just tweet the link out a few times over the course of a week. And the first time we did that was just to kind of like get an idea of what people thought of what we were doing. And we did it again. We do it every quarter now, but we did it again the next quarter. And since we'd made some changes to the way we did distribution information, we really saw a massive increase in the amount of people that were happy with it. So, I mean, it's a really, really good indicator. I think we only had a response of about 300 people, but still it was kind of a really nice amount of people to be able to get an idea of what we were doing.
Yeah. One of the things, Joe, that in looking at your cases and your examples of success stories, was talking about these little things, like I guess a station manager can now really interact with the people who are going to that station every day, but yet they can be inside and stay warm, as opposed to having to stand out and, I guess, shake hands, and they're probably getting a lot more feedback than they could have by standing outside for 10 minutes a day. So have you seen any other examples of, or any stories about how kind of the real world is changing as a result of the social work, customer service work you're doing? So even that hook on the back of the toilet door, like things like that, are really powerful for that person each day.
We've just started running these Tweak the Manager sessions that we've been doing for, we've done about 4 or 5 sessions now. And what we do is we pick a topic, and we get the topic from asking our followers on Twitter what they want to talk to us about. And then we've got sort of 5 or 6 of our senior managers in a room who are talking to customers direct. What we're finding is they're hearing things that they hadn't necessarily heard before, and they're being told, one-to-one, you need to fix this, and more often than not, they can go away and fix it. So we're finding that just immensely beneficial for us. So I think that's a massive change in the way we're letting customers talk to us.
That's fantastic. That's great. Question for Paul, or actually a question for Josh. So going back to sort of the origin, Josh, of the teams, where Joe's is sort of from the customer service route, Paul's is really more from operations. Are you seeing a trend within Conversocial's clients where these teams are being born from? Is it marketing? Is it service? Is it other?
Really varies. It's one of the most interesting things about the industry is that every company's been approaching it slightly differently. Certainly, I think the kind of biggest trend has been that social very much started in the kind of PR and marketing side, and we're now seeing this big trend of very customer service centric teams being developed. But wherever it comes from, they always tend to head in the same direction. So even if they start as kind of hardcore pure customer service, the range of conversations that are going on through social, they are operational, they are about campaigns, they are about PR, there is all this amazing feedback, means that the teams are kind of converging into this kind of social engagement team that's really crossing across disciplines. And whether that's a team that's in the call center that's having to speak to marketing operations every day, whether it's a new team that's developed somewhere else, we have seen some really successful cases of customers where they have this very cross-departmental team where they have people that come in from customer service, from marketing, from PR, and they all sit in a room together, which is something we're now seeing across quite a few customers where they have this kind of central social team that's doing everything, which I think is quite an exciting trend. But I think really we're still very early on in the evolution of social, and there isn't yet a kind of clear route of that. This is exactly how you need to do it.
Yeah, I think it raises a really interesting point, which is that this is an opportunity for a lot of people. That there may be, as you said, there may be a new department or a new group that is. I mean, I would look at Joe. Your group is entirely new, correct? I mean, this was created specifically for this purpose. So it's an opportunity for so from your team. I guess we said 6 people. What were they doing before?
Well, they're actually part of our customer service team already. So what we've done is we've trained up a certain amount of our customer service team to provide social customer service. So, I mean, it's come from that. But whereas all of the people that do our tweeting are based in customer service, we've actually got a communities team who, which is sort of made up of a couple of people from most departments in the business, and we use them to sort of think about all the things that we're going to do on social and to think about our future, because we think it's really important to get it ingrained right across the business. So say we've got somebody in there from comms, and we've got somebody in there from internal comms, and from customer information, and someone from our control center. They all come together, learn about what we're doing with social, and then they can feed that back into their parts of the business. So we want to grow that well.
And Paul, how about you? So you were always, I guess, the man on the spot of communicating about disruptions before this. But the rest of the folks on the team, were they part of that world, or did you pull them from outside?
No, not at all. I've got a bit of a mixed bag across the 3 of them. I have one who used to work for our customer relations team, so has got that background. One of them is one of our former conductors, so he used to be out actually physically on the trains, dealing with customers and doing customer service that way. And our newest member of the team will be from external, so his background is in social media outside of our business. So we've got quite a varied range of experience, but all of it in the customer service sphere.
Got it. It's really interesting how it's a collective set of skills, which is fantastic. So we have a really this is a question from Lama, I believe. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Thank you for this question, and to the gold question about, I guess, ROI in a sense. Paul, Joe, or even Josh, have you seen how engagement on Twitter has led to increased sales? So have you seen, even anecdotally, evidence of that a rider is saying, I'm now going to take the train more often? Or have you even seen it in overall? So just it may not be something you're reporting on now, but just thought we'd ask the question.
It's it's one of those things we haven't really we haven't got any concrete evidence at the moment that it's upping sales or anything like that, but we're still very much in the planning stages of what that's going to look like in terms of ROI. But we get a lot of customers that were angry with us, and social media has given us the opportunity to turn them around. And a lot of people have said things like they're going to, continue using us now. So I guess that's quite a vague way of saying that it's doing good for us. I think one of the main things we want to focus on is getting people to come away from writing letters and emails and telephone calls and start tweeting us instead. So we're only just this month starting to see maybe a little bit of evidence that that's happening, which is amazing. So we'll be interested to watch the figures on that over the next couple of months.
That's really interesting. Are you replacing, or how are you doing that? Are you putting a hashtag next to an 800 number or a contact us form? How are you, just some baby steps towards that?
Okay, so we've on our on the holding message that people get when they phone customer services now, we've got "Why don't you follow us on Twitter?" We've got that on the bottom of most of our leaflets on the website. We're trying to push it as much as we can. But what I think we really need to focus on, rather than getting the customers that use Twitter to come over and follow us, we want to try and tap into the people who aren't using Twitter. So we need to think of some sort of educational program that we can advertise at stations and on trains about why people should be signing up, why they should be using Twitter, and what they can get out of it. So I think that's going to be one of our next steps.
Great. And I can't see Paul, so Paul, do you have, not sure if you can hear me, but if you do you have a thought on this?
Yeah, I do. Certainly, I'd echo some of Joanna's comments around the whether we've started to move people from a customer service point of view. And if I give you a specific example of somewhere where we'd really like to move customers, we talk a lot about on-train faults. And actually, from our engineers' point of view, they love getting stuff through Twitter because we can have a chat with the customer whilst they're still on the train. My team understand what it is that we want from their fault, and we can ascertain exactly where it is on the train that they're sat. So the engineers love the social feedback because they have to go out and check one carriage from us rather than 12 carriages if somebody writes in after the event. So there are some benefits, and that's a very specific example. And I'd echo Joanna's point about the kind of whether customers, particularly our commuters, want the marketing, but we've started to look at that. We've created our own dedicated opt-in feed, which is just marketing, so it's a bit like ticking the box on the form, I guess, so that those customers who do want that marketing information can take that. And we're certainly seeing that that's driving people through to the website, and it is starting to have a little bit of an impact. But in terms of a full business case for ROI, which I think was the original question, that's not something that we've looked to kind of build on.
Yeah, but actually it's fast. The example you gave about the engineers having to check one car instead of 12, there is ROI in that because obviously that's a more efficient business process, directly tied back to feedback from customers obtained via social media. So it's there, and it's interesting too. Social media you might have skeptics who say it's kind of maybe it's just fluffy or it's just PR, but actually it sounds like the engineers, who are the least fluffy people, are some of your biggest supporters, your biggest advocates.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on that, Paul, do you get feedback just on Twitter, or are you also leveraging Facebook? And do you see people tweeting you? Can you tell from which platforms? Are they using it on a mobile when they're at a station or on a train? So are they using Facebook as well? And then from what platforms?
People are tending to use Twitter a lot at the moment. Facebook is something that we're looking to move into, and again, a little bit around that, push more into the marketing areas. One of the interesting platforms we're looking at the moment is a platform called Foursquare, which isn't as widely used, but because users check in at a physical location, we can effectively personalize the information rather than just pushing something out on Twitter that goes across all of our lines of route and customers. So Foursquare is actually quite an exciting proposition for us, so that's something that we'll be looking to develop in the coming months.
And Joe, thank you. And Joe, how about you? Are you using Facebook as well?
Yeah, we do use Facebook as well. And we find the two platforms just entirely different. Facebook is more somewhere where a customer will post something and then loads and loads of other customers jump on the bandwagon and row with each other. And so we found it a real challenge to moderate Facebook and to keep it kind of quite friendly. But I think we might have got there now, and I think people have got the message about what we will and won't tolerate. But it's been a real challenge, Facebook, for us. It's, you know, people argue on there.
Oh yeah, no. I don't know if you guys all saw the great example. There was on BuzzFeed this morning. I guess the Gordon Ramsay show, Kitchen Nightmares. There's some chefs who have a restaurant out in Phoenix, and it's the worst case of Facebook customer service ever. So I encourage everybody, if you need a break today, to take a look at it. So we're getting sort of close to our wrap up. So let me ask a question of all three of you. We'll start with Josh. I have an order here. So, is there something that, because I know a lot of times people want, how do I get started, and sort of practical. Is there something that to avoid? Is there something that either in working with clients or working with social customer service, lesson on how not to engage, in how not to construct the team, anything just that might really be a landmine for folks?
I actually think that the way that Joe and Paul's teams kicked off was really the perfect way, where they had one person who understood social, and they just got stuck in and started actually not just listening to customers but engaging and responding as well, which is the best way to learn about how to do this. We see quite a lot of companies that are kind of scared of taking that first step, and they waste a lot of time and effort kind of worrying about it and trying to plan about it and try to get everything in place, and actually that just means they end up spending a lot of time just ignoring customers and not even responding to them because they're just too scared to even get in there. And actually, if you can just get one person in and actually just get them responding, even if it's just in Facebook and Twitter, you don't need tools and loads of teams and processes to start off. But actually, if you just get someone who understands social and get in there to kick things off, I think that's the best way to start.
Great. And Joe, is there anything, a lesson learned, even in using Conversocial? Is there something that you would say either avoid this, or this is something we didn't realize we could do, and share that with folks who might be getting into this?
I think my biggest bit of advice would be guided by your customers. I mean, when you first go into Twitter, it can be pretty daunting, and if you try and steam in there with some massive marketing thing and start bombarding your customers, they're going to switch off really, really quickly, and you're going to drive people away. So be careful. Just go in there and be guided by your customers. They'll tell you what they expect from your Twitter presence, and you can take that on gradually and just build it around that.
Yeah, it's like they start the conversations. We oftentimes in the traditional call center, we talk about mirroring someone's conversation, and that's what you really need to do in social.
Exactly.
Paul, any words of wisdom for newbies?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a word of encouragement. Certainly, I wasn't a social media expert when I started. I knew nothing about social media. So I would say be honest with people. Try and, if you go in with the right attitude, that you are on social because you realize that people are talking about you, and there's a great opportunity before you launch to see what they're saying. People will respond well to that, and people will allow you to make some of those mistakes and learn from what they're saying. You get a great feedback loop. So I would say we were a little bit fearful of it, but people are good, and be honest about what you want to achieve from it, and that you're there to help, and they will help you to achieve that. So don't be fearful of it, I'd say.
Great, and I'm glad we have a member of our audience who's not fearful. They've asked a question. So we have, the question is, Paul, are you using Conversocial sentiment evaluation aspect? Is that something that you use as part of your effort?
Yeah, it is. It's something that we didn't have prior to getting Conversocial about 4 or 5 months ago. So it's been quite interesting. Obviously, we're a train company. We're not the most loved brand in the whole world, if we're honest. But it has been interesting to start to track the initial, how customers feel about us, and what I'd like to see over time is a shift in that sentiment. That would be great, just to see that we are actually having an impact on the way that customers feel about us.
And Joe, how about you?
Yeah, we love it. We've actually noticed really, really interesting recently in that when we have major disruption, our sentiment is going up. which is, to me, is showing that we're doing social media really well, because we're turning people around, and they're saying good things about all the information they're getting. So that's been really, really interesting to watch.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that the ability, moving sentiment, sort of showing feedback to internal audiences at inside, and developing really a sense of what social customer care, but also more broadly engagement with your customers can really help you do business more efficiently. I think that's just to sort of go back to the earlier question. That's an immediate ROI that I think you're hearing everyone talk about. So any last thoughts from Josh, from you, and we'll just give it Joe and then Paul, and then we'll wrap up.
Sure. No, I think that was really great. So thanks, guys. I think just kind of last bit from me on the ROI stuff is that, as I said earlier, generally we're seeing companies put resources into social customer service because they're worried about prices, or they see that it's a great way of communicating with customers. But we're definitely seeing that as the teams needed to do this are increasing in size, it's becoming more and more important for companies to be able to show a real business case for what they're doing. And whether that's through surveys, whether it's through call deflection, whether it's showing things like increased sales, which we are seeing some customers do, or just protecting revenue from customers who otherwise might leave you if you didn't give them the help. We are seeing those kind of ROI case studies start made in companies and start to be presented successfully to senior management. I think that's an area which is going to become really important over the next year.
Great. And so Joe and Paul, we'll leave on this. So what's the next step for social care at your organization? We've talked about a lot, but what really is what are sort of the next thing that you'd like to see social care help change or improve?
We just want to get loads more interactive. That we want to do loads more fun stuff. We want to really improve the information that we give out during disruption. But there's loads and loads of things we can do with social media, and we're just in the middle of planning that now. So watch this space, because we'll have loads of really cool stuff coming out soon.
Cool. And Paul?
I think still our core reason is around the information that we give during disruption. I think that makes or breaks us how we deal with customers and how we interact with customers when things go wrong, 20 customers or more, and just continuing to drive the quality of the information that we give at the times when customers really need us and need us most. Yeah.
Well, thank you both. I think what I just heard there was, and in social we talk a lot about relevance. You with what you do and providing information on train schedules, it's all about, is the train going to get there on time? And going just full circle, we left U.S. Airways, pulled out from the gate early and left the cast of the office, and what was relevant to them was, when is the flight leaving? And the airline got that wrong. So the rule of that, really we want to have relevance in the conversation, and that's going to drive engagement. That's I think some immediate positive benefits from providing social customer care. So that's great. Well, thank you, everyone. We are up against the end of our call, so I appreciate Paul, Joe, Josh. Thank you for your participation. Thanks to ConverSocial for putting this together. This is really great content. And thank you first and foremost to all of you in the audience. And again, keep tweeting at the Social Barometer, and if you have any questions, feedback, we will be listening there. So thanks, everyone.